And then Buddy was actually my brother's dog originally, and then he turned out to be like I took responsibility of him when he was my brother's dog.
Adventurous dog.
I took Jack everywhere. It was always with me.
It took you a long time to train them all, and they're naturally good like that.
No, it didn't take. What's this girl doing? The Labrador didn't take that long to train. You just have to spend time with them. Like I went to some classes where they taught us how to train, but once they understood what you expected, it was it. It was like they were trained. But Buddy, see, when Buddy was my brother's, he was the Maltese Poodle. Like he was the type where my brother didn't train him, so it's like if he, like let's say he had a treat in his mouth and then you went to take the treat, he would growl and snap at you. But then when he became my dog, I just spent some time with him. And shortly after, it's like I could just tell him drop it, and he would just listen to me. He would drop it. He would never growl again or anything like that. He just became a good dog. Because you just have to spend time with them. You just have to teach them. The reason why dogs don't get trained is because people don't train them. It's not that hard. They're like really fast learners. You just have to spend the time and train them. Alright, I gotta lock in here. Focus. We don't know what we're up against. It's not a memeing Steve squad this time.
I appreciate the advice, very nice streamer.
So when I went to the dog classes, there would be a bunch of dogs, and we'd have them on the leash, and they'd show you how to hold the leash and control them, and then we'd walk in circles and patterns with the other people and their dogs, so the dogs are trained to be around other dogs, and they learn to not just get distracted and go after another dog. So like my dogs, they grew up also around like little kids and stuff. So another story about Jack was one day I was at my dad's house visiting, and I brought Jack with me, and then they had a pet, like a bird in a cage there, and there was this girl that was like my dad's girlfriend at the time, and it was her bird. And so anyway, I'm just at my dad's house, and I hear this woman scream. Her name was Laura, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and I like run over and I'm like, what happened? And it turns out like she's like, well, the bird flew out of the cage and it went right in Jack's mouth. So she panicked and screamed because she thought Jack was eating the bird. But she's like, but he just stood there with his mouth open and let the bird sit in his mouth. Like he didn't bite down. And the bird was perfectly fine. Like he knew better than to hurt the bird. So just imagine like a Labrador just sitting there like with a bird in his mouth. Like a little bird that flew in his mouth. So she panicked for nothing. She just thought her bird got eaten by a Labrador, but he didn't harm it at all. Like that's what a good dog Jack was. He would never hurt anyone. Well, I don't know about anyone. Like if, like let's say, I don't know, under some extreme circumstance, like if I was actually really getting attacked by somebody, maybe another side of him would come out, but I never saw it. He was like a big puppy. Everybody loved him. Even people who hated dogs loved him. But One day I was walking him, and I don't know, I reached down to pet him, and I felt this lump on his neck, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I happened to be walking him around like a shopping center, and there happened to be a vet in that shopping center. So I just walked right into the vet, like a walk-in, and I was like, I just felt this lump on my dog's neck. Can you check it? So the vet takes me in. He feels the lump on Jack's neck, and he says he's got 2 months to live. And literally, it was like 2 months, like almost on the mark, and he was gone. It was cancer. And no matter what I tried, like the cancer had just spread throughout his body, and there was nothing I could do. It was just crazy how the doctor just, from I guess feeling the size of the lump and just having experience, he just knew. He knew like the exact.
God bless him, sad face.
Sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah, that was 2012. And then Buddy just died. Buddy outlived him all those years, and Buddy just died 2 months ago. But they were friends. They were buddies. My brother still has 2 dogs, but I don't want any more. I can't deal with it anymore. Like, yeah, the times you have with them are wonderful, but you know, the past 20-something years I've dedicated to taking care of dogs and getting attached to them, only to have to separate. So I know everybody says, like, when you lose a pet, everybody's like, they try to get you another dog, another like replacement, and a lot of people do that. I actually said when Jack died I was done with pets, but somehow I ended up with Buddy. My brother was sick and couldn't take care of him, and I started watching him, and then he just became my dog. I never planned on that, and so then I was bound by another commitment from 2012 to 2024. So that just sort of happened. So when my brother was, when Buddy was dying, actually, like, story about Buddy dying was like over 2 years ago. I took him to a vet, and they said that basically similar to Jack, but he didn't have cancer, but he had like heart failure, and they're like, you know, he doesn't have long to live, and he was experiencing, like, he wasn't doing well, and they said that they actually told me he's got the worst. This was a totally different vet, by the way. So the vet said, I've never heard a worse heart on a living dog. Like, he's in a heart failure, heart disease. Just prepare for, like, he's not going to be here much longer. So one of my friends actually suggested that I change his diet. And she told me what to feed him, and it was like, instead of getting I just completely stopped giving him dog food altogether and started giving him like chicken and rice and potatoes.
Was it heartworms or just failure?
No, it was just heart failure from like old age. He was already like 13, 14. He was like 14-ish, 13, 14, I would say. Yeah. And then he had heart disease, and he was like reaching that point of heart failure, and the kidneys were failing, and arthritis and everything that comes with that, cataracts, and just getting old. But he wasn't doing well. And so anyway, long story short, I changed his whole diet and took him completely off dog food and just started making his food and freezing it. he lived like over another 2 years from just that. And then I guess we're done with this mode. And then he totally got like, he was like a puppy again, and he lost all this weight, like in a good way because he was overweight. And he was just like, he had a really good like 2 years after they said he was pretty much done. And it was all from changing his diet. But then eventually everything caught up and it got worse again to where like he started having seizures. And this was like December of last year. I took him to the vet again, and then they're just like, okay, well, you know, the seizures, whatever. So I put him on seizure medicine. He did really good for like a month or two because he started having multiple seizures a day. And then the seizure meds didn't work that long. They did all right for like a month or two. And then he started having seizures again. Then I put him on like heart meds, seizure meds, and anyway, he lasted like, I didn't think he was gonna see 2024, but he made it to May. So he made it through January, February, March, April, May 9th. So he lasted like another 5 months on top of when he was having seizures every day. And then I was just trying to manage his seizures, and I didn't go anywhere for like all those months. I didn't really go anywhere. I didn't leave the house. I was just always with him. And like people that were here on the stream, they know like I'd have to just stop the stream, and sometimes he would just have a seizure while I was here playing and stuff. And then I kind of knew the time was coming. And I was even considering putting him down because he was just like, one day he would have like 5 or 6, 7 seizures in a day. And I was like, this is just too much. And then one night, it was May 9th. And then like for a few days, I think I just stopped streaming and playing because it was just too hard to do that with the dog in his condition. Like, never knew when he was going to have a seizure. And then he started having like, then one day I took him out and we went for a walk, but he couldn't really like go for walks. So I had him in a stroller, and my whole family went. We went for a walk around the neighborhood and everything. Took a picture of him. I posted it in the Discord. It's like the last picture of him in the Discord in the animal section. And he looked like he was chilling, like, but that night it was around like 3:30, 4 a.m. or something like that. And he was laying right here on the floor, like just chilling, just laying peacefully, calm in his bed. And I knew that like right over there in the corner where like the drum set is, in the corner where he would always lay, I just knew like that's where he's gonna die. Something told me that. So anyway, he was like laying right here in his bed and seemingly chilled out, peaceful, and he just got up, walked over to that corner, and like right when he got there, he started having a seizure. And I ran over to him and held him. And then this seizure was actually starting to be longer than the rest. And I knew something was different about it. And I think it started turning into like a heart attack because it was different. Usually the seizures would not be too long and then he would kind of snap out of it. But this one turned into him like heavy breathing, like struggling to get air, and I knew like this was different. And so I just kind of knew inside, like, I think this is the moment. And at that point, I just kind of looked up and just asked God to get it over with. And then then he stopped breathing in my arms and just kind of twitched a little more, and like I just felt the life go out of him. And I brought him to my dad's house. By that time, it was like 5:30ish, 6 in the morning, where my dad had already dug a hole like on the side of the house because that's where all the other dogs were buried. And he happened to dig it the day before because I told him, I'm like, I think the times are really near. And that was it. I just put him in the ground, and he's with the rest of them. But I'm done with pets, long story short. Like, I'll love other people's dogs, other people's pets, but I don't want to
Thank you for sharing.
have that bond anymore. Like, I don't know. Next pet I get will be a wife, maybe. Yeah, I know not everybody wants to hear the sad stories, but I guess some people do, and some people recently have gone through similar, so. But with Buddy leading up to that, almost like 2.5 years of kind of knowing that this day was on the way. And it was almost like part of me just wanted it to be over with. But the other part of me didn't want to let go. So I couldn't put him to sleep because like he still had life in him. So I'm glad he went naturally. Because I was struggling to be like, I was struggling with the idea of like, I'm going to have to bring him and put him down. I don't want him to like get injected
They'll be
in a
waiting for you
cold,
at the gates. I am sure they're looking over you.
like in a vet clinic room. I do believe it, honestly. I really do believe. The way I see it is this, right? God is either going to give them all back to me, or he's going to completely erase my memory of them. Because heaven wouldn't be heaven if you could remember, like, oh, I remember my pets and I don't have them. Like, because heaven is a place where there's no
I
sorrow.
am sorry for you loss. I know that baby loves you and God is watching them until you arrive.
I truly believe it because,
How to get red heart.
I mean, first of all, I know that God could easily give them back because God created them and created the world and created me, and Jesus rose from the dead, and like it's not out of God's
No one in my life
ability
has
to
wanted
do
to
it.
talk about Princess and the grief, so it really helps listening to you.
Yeah, for me too. Like I have, see, I've always been like a photographer and videographer, so I have just logs and logs of videos and pictures of both Buddy and Jack, and like I literally have 50 terabytes of hard drives here. It's not full, but of all like throughout, like I can go in my hard drives and be like
Sorry to
20
bring my grief into
like
this.
2018. No, it's we're all going through the same similar thing. But I can go on my hard drive and be like 2017 and it'll pull up, and then in 2017 it'll be January, February, March, April,
God is
and have
taking care of
everything.
all of them pink heart.
So for the longest time I never could look at a picture or a video of Jack. I just stored them away, never looked at them. And then one time around like, I don't know what year it was, but it was probably like 2020ish or something like that. And one of my friends wrote a song called I Love My Dog, and it was during COVID, so it had to be around 2020, 2020, 2021, something, whatever. He wrote a song called I Love My Dog. And so we really couldn't shoot much of a music video because everyone was on lockdown of COVID. So we had a bunch of people send footage of them and their dogs. And then we had a couple people send footage, but it wasn't enough. So I decided now's the time, right? This like Jack died in 2012, so that was already 2020. And I went through all my videos and I found all these clips and videos of Jack, and I put together this music video, and it was like in honor of him, but it was many years later. And it was the first time I looked at, and it was very hard like editing this video, but it was also like therapeutic. But yeah, since Buddy died, like I can't really I just don't look at pictures or photos. I think many years need to go by before I can actually look at that stuff without hurting as much. Because only time can heal that kind of stuff. And really, it doesn't get healed. It just, I don't know, it gets easier. But